Thank you everyone for coming. Good evening to you all. Namaste, Sat Sri Akal and Adab. I'm Harkirat. I wear many, many hats. I've been told to introduce myself with one of them at least. Some of you may know me, some of you may not. I've been a radio presenter for 20 years as a Punjabi presenter on Desi Radio, done other shows, and I've worked in the arts for over 20 years as well. The Asian arts, the South Asian art scene, and the wider art scene as well. So that's me in my many hats. And tonight, Kuljeet kindly invited me to host. And I am most honoured to be amongst such esteemed company tonight. There are so many artists in this room, be they musicians, singers, composers, lyricists as well, very important. And all of those make up the essential components of a perfect filmy song. And I think that's really important about tonight, because tonight we celebrate a musical tribute to Hindi cinema by Kuljeet Bumrah with the launch of a very special album, Namaste Bombay. It's the world's first filmy music album, so to speak, without a film. Now, Kuljeet, how have you managed that? But it's 38 songs. Now, given the average Indian film is 3 hours and 10 songs, I worry about how long a film with all your songs might be. But it still is a filmy album nonetheless. How does that work? Now, I'm going to say to you it does, because I've had the opportunity to listen to the album. And you may have already heard one of the tracks from the album. It popped up on my Spotify the other day, actually. Dur Dur Hum Jayenge, sung beautifully by Rekha. It's an apt first release from this album, because it talks about Dur Dur Hum Jayenge, and you've come all the way to the UK. And this album is a tribute to Bombay, now Mumbai. It's silver screen industry from artists here in the UK. So it's a really important track. But this track, and so do all the other tracks on Namaste Bombay, they bring to the forefront the live instrumentation, the beautiful melodies that you get, the lyrics, and all the feelings that you get with those nostalgic, filmy songs of that golden era. Now, I say filmy all the time. I haven't said Bollywood. And there's a reason I say that. Filmy, once upon a time for me, was a genre. You listen to a song from a film and you went, oh, this is a filmy geet. That's a genre in itself. Now we talk about it being Bollywood now, and it's become a commercial scene for the whole world. Bollywood's on the world stage now. And some of those songs now can be classified as pop. You know, you've got Bollywood. The Bollywood music scene might be more of a scene where diluted genres get a stage. So you might have your diluted Bhangra song in a film. You might have a diluted trance track or an indie track. And you're introducing the world to that music. But when we go back to this album, it takes you back to those days when we didn't have that stage and people were allowed to dream, because those films were made for an audience in India where people worked hard and paying for that ticket to the theatre to go and see that favourite film with their favourite actors, take them away from the reality of the hard work that they did. Those songs allowed them to dream that this is what life might be like over there, or dream that this is how you might fall in love, or all those things. And I don't know if you remember those song sequences and the dance sequences, and I think that's where the songs in your album took me back to. And it's all that kind of corny first love, Bella Bella Pyar, all those heartbreak scenes, all those things. That's what it took me back to. And I think this album once again allows you to dream. And not having a film allows you to make the story up as you're listening to it. So you've got the heartbreaks, you've got the cheek, you've got the flirtation there. And I've got to say, Gurjeet, congratulations. It's absolutely amazing listen. I've had, like I said, I've had a chance to listen. So I've got my favourites, but I'm going to let you all listen and choose your favourites as well. So Lopa's going to take over in a while, in a moment, and be delving into the album with Gurjeet. First of all, from me, congratulations.
Thank you.
What can we say about Gurjeet? There's so much to say, but I think you all know. And I say that, but then I don't want to say that lightly, because I always think everybody knows, but I always feel like with you, always just scratching the surface. I was with you in December, and I learned something about you, and I listened to a track that I've been listening to for 10 years. Having had that conversation with you, I was like, listen to this track. And I was like, this is Gurjeet. I'm sure it's Gurjeet. And I went back and found the CD cover, and I was like, this is an old album. How did I not know this was you? But there's always learning. You're scratching the surface, and you're always surprising us with what you're doing. I don't know, firstly, how you do it. Everything you do, it's your musicals, your electronic tabla, your everything that you do. Congratulations. I don't know where you find the time to do it, but one thing I've got to commend is the passion that you do it with. So with that, I'm going to hand over to you, Lopa, who you may know as well. You're going to introduce yourself.
Yeah,
That's fine.
yeah.
I don't have to do it then. No, that's fine. But it takes a heavyweight to interview another heavyweight. So thank you. Let me hand over to yourselves and enjoy listening about the album.
Thanks, Kira. Heavyweight, I think that's what my mother calls me. Yeah. My name is Lopa Kothari. I'm absolutely delighted to be here. I host a weekly music program on BBC Radio 3 called Music Planet. And over the years, Gurjeet has been on our show. Either we've been recording his concerts for the program, or he's been into our studios at Maida Vale and a broadcasting house with numerous collaborators to record sessions for the program. So it's an absolute thrill to be sitting here with Gurjeet, not talking about anything to do with my program. It's absolutely brilliant. As many of you know, Gurjeet is someone who has, whose mission, I guess you could say, has been to unravel the mysteries of Indian melodies and rhythms, demystify in many ways Indian classical music. And I think, and his last album, Ragan Tala, was just phenomenal. It was absolutely brilliant. So I am here to talk to this man today about his new project. I'm delighted and honoured to be here to talk to Gurjeet about it. But I think that for the purpose of this evening, Gurjeet Bumrah, MBE, let's assume this is mastermind.
God.
And your specialist subject is you. So I think we should start with, everybody here does know something about you. Maybe how you got into music. What I personally would like to know is, and something I wasn't aware of, is that it was only when you were 35 that you committed to a full career in music, giving up civil engineering. Did you know that? Tell us more, Gurjeet.
Well, yeah, actually, my mum and dad are here, I must say, over here, so they know all about that. Obviously, my mum and dad created me, so I would not be here otherwise. But I think our family were. My dad is an engineer himself, so we were encouraged to follow, to have a proper job. And of course, my mum's a singer. Everyone knows my mother. And we are a musical family, but music was never really encouraged as a profession. And it was only after designing speed humps for Richmond Council for many years that I thought,
Damn you, Gurjeet.
So I thought, life changed, and I had the opportunity to go into music full time. But I had been recording before then, so I had released a few platinum discs as a hobby, and but to actually take it out as a profession was a long process. But yeah, I think I made up for lost time.
Well, you certainly did. Well, you didn't lose a lot of time, I have to say. I mean, the fact that you could actually have two careers going at the same moment, speed bumps, I'll never forgive you for that. So tell us about this album, Namaste Bombay, a tribute to Hindi cinema. When were the seeds of this album sown? I'm guessing we're going right back to the soundtrack of your childhood.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I remember going to the cinema with my mum and dad. My mum used to, I keep pointing at my mum here, but I don't mean to be rude, but my mum used to take a tape recorder to the cinema with her and record, the songs, yeah. I mean, everyone did that, didn't they? So, Bali's nodding. So, and then when we used to sing at Mayfields and functions, we would then sing some of those songs. It was difficult to get hold of lyrics. There was no internet.
Yeah.
So, the only way was to record it in a cinema. And I remember in our house, we had one of those reel-to-reel tape recorders. I don't know if people know what they are, but yeah, they're sort of... and I just remember hearing songs that really touched me emotionally. I didn't know what the lyrics were about, but the tune and the music really hit me in a strong way. And I began to record my songs onto the reel-to-reel tape recorder, and then I slowed it down so that I could figure out how it was put together. I mean, it would go, but I could hear the rhythms,
Yes.
And that was my way of learning how the rhythms worked. So, I've always been curious about music, and after producing some of my mum's records, Gidda Bahar and the old very big hit song, the time came when I started to produce for other artists, and I'll name some of them here. Bali's here, and Bremi Group, Hira Group, Real Goody, everybody knows. And so I was really intrigued. All that time, I was never interested in... I was experimenting, it just happened to be a record as a result. And so, let's go forward to 2019. And in fact, I think it was 2016 or 17 when Arc Music is a record label, one of the world's biggest world music record labels. In fact, I'll introduce you to some of the team here. And Arc used to record a lot of their albums at my studio. So when I left designing speed humps and opened up a recording studio, I had a commercial studio that was on hire, and I never really got a chance to make any of my own music. I was busy renting out the studio to pay for my bills. And Arc Music was one of my clients, and there was a very famous artist called Hossam Ramsey, who's no longer with us.
Yeah.
And he did a lot of belly dance. No, he didn't do belly dance
No,
himself.
he didn't do the belly dancing, but he was a phenomenal musician that allowed the belly dancer to
he
get
did
the best of her
belly
art.
dance music.
Yeah,
he did have a big belly, I have to say, but yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he recorded at my studio, and then casting forward, even more recently, I got a call from ARC saying, could you produce 3 albums for us? A classical album, a Bollywood album, and a Bhangra album. So the classical one you know about, Essence of Raga Tala, and then I started work on the Bollywood album, and then the pandemic hit. And so I was, we were all trapped at home, actually, all of us. And luckily, my home is a recording studio. So I thought, my God, I would be silly not to make use of my studio because I'm trapped in it. Yeah. So I thought, I'm going to compose a song every day in my studio.
But I think that's one of the things that I'd read in some interview or other, that you'd said that COVID had actually presented you with an unexpected creative freedom.
Yeah, totally. And I know it was a bad time. I lost a lot of friends, and I'm sure many people here lost friends or had people that were ill. But I was trapped in a creative bubble, and I thought, I'm going to really go for it. And my plan to do an 8-song album turned into I wrote 123 songs
No.
in that time. And luckily, when the bubbles, when we had bubbles, you could sort of meet each other. And then Preet Nihal, who I'll speak about shortly, one of my beloved collaborators, and Mangesh Gajjar, we got together and I was crazy. I just wrote loads of songs and then recorded 38 of them.
How did you choose or did they choose the 38?
Well, no, I think they became obvious. In fact, you can't put 123 songs on an album anyway, because that'd be crazy. In fact, putting 38 songs on an album is also crazy. But I thought, let me do it. And my experience with my mother singing Hindi film songs, and I always wanted to produce Hindi film music, but I wanted to do it my way rather than the Bollywood way.
I mean, Kieran already said that, 38 tracks, that's a whopping number on any album. What were you trying to do when you were writing these songs? Was it to sort of reminisce? I have heard the album and it is beautifully reminiscent of the Bollywood that I grew up with. And it's epic in every shape and form, and it has so many influences in it, flamenco, Latino, whatever. Were you consciously trying to make it reflective of the world in a sense that we live in now, by drawing on so many of your own influences and stuff?
Yeah, I think there were two missions for me. One was to bring back the Bollywood music that I loved, because I miss that Bollywood music. And nothing against Bollywood music now, but it's sort of churned out very
become
quickly.
A little formulaic.
It's a formulaic, and it's like a conveyor belt.
Hang on a minute, churned out quickly. 120 songs during COVID. Is that not churn and burn?
Yeah, it's definitely churned, but I think, when I say churn nowadays, they're all churned out in the same. It's like a cookie cutter, so every song is like that.
Yeah.
And I think from my experience in going to Mumbai and listening to modern filmy songs, the aim of songs, in the old days, they used to release the songs before the films.
Yeah.
We all know that. And in fact, the success of the film depended on the songs. So they released the albums, the CDs and the cassettes before the film, and so people went to see the films because of the songs. And nowadays, I think if you go and watch a Bollywood film, I'm generalising, but I don't think you leave the cinema whistling a tune.
The thing that used to really irritate me when I was a kid going back to Ahmedabad, every summer holiday, when I went to a film, everybody was standing up and singing.
Yeah.
Constantly. I could never listen to what was going on in the film because everybody else was singing. They knew the words. They knew the entire soundtrack. And that kind of, I've only listened to the album a couple of times, but it has that feel to it. That these are songs that people are going to be singing or humming or going in to see a film. So I guess my next question is, Kira did say, but there isn't a film? What's the synopsis of the album?
The film is in your head. Not your head. In the listener's head.
Yeah.
So I was inspired by the music of that golden Bollywood era when orchestras played live. Now you go to Mumbai, those big studios are closed. Yeah. So I miss that time. And that's why I wanted to relive that sort of memory of mine.
So what was it like working with, you've a lot of your collaborators, a lot of the people who are on the album are here tonight. How did that process work? You say that you'd written, composed, we just talk about the 38 songs, right? Had you already got in mind what the lyrics might be or what the story was behind the music? How did it work with your lyricists, with your musicians?
Sure. So, it works. I've worked in various ways. So many composers could receive a lyric as a poem, and then you compose a tune to that. My personally favourite way of doing things is to have a tune that I have made up and then get lyrics written to them. But I was really lucky to work with Mangesh Gajjar, who himself has worked in Mumbai as well. and written for films. And so with Mangesh, he had a very clear idea about how the song should sound. But with working with Breathe Nihal, for example, I sang the tunes to him first, and then he wrote the lyrics. And then because it was lockdown and the bubbles were beginning to open, I then began to tweak each song to suit all the singers that were going to sing them. So everyone that sung on the album, their songs are
cherry-picked for them.
For them, they're composed with them in mind. And I've been lucky to have owned a studio because I've known all the singers.
Yeah.
They come individually. So I'm delighted also that they're all sitting in one room. I think which is it's got to be a one unique occasion because it's impossible to get all these guys into one room at the same time, especially in the audience, rather than on the stage. So
yeah, brilliant. So what is the plan for the album? I mean, in a sense, have you got somebody writing the film, the synopsis, the screenplay for it? Are you going to tour at all? Are you able to tour with this?
Well, I mean, I hope that all the artists that performed on the album actually take their songs away and sing them live on stage. Otherwise, it was a futile effort. But and I've written the songs in a way that it can be performed with a simple band. So that's my hope. The album actually officially releases on the 28th of June. So we're very early with this launch. And also, Arc Music, they also have a massive library of music, which do get taken for film sometimes. So you never know, some of these songs may actually appear in, bona fide Bollywood films. In fact, all the singers that are on the album are UK-based originally singers. So it's a Bollywood album, filmy album, made in UK with entirely UK talent. And now I'm lucky to have a recording studio. I get a chance to meet all these lovely creative people, and so I thought I'm going to bring them all together on this project and make them suffer. Yeah.
Well, I have to say, if there was anybody that was going to be able to pull this off, it would have been you. So thank you, Kulchan.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.